Welcome to Feelings in Flannel, episode 6. In this episode, we've got one of my peers, Mike Henson Jr., and I'm telling you, he brings it. He has notes, he's well prepared, and he definitely made the top 5. Stay tuned. Feelings in Flannel is hosted by us. I'm Adam.
I'm Amelia.
And we are a father-daughter combo who are setting out to debate the merits of love, romance, humor, and faith in RomComs new and old.
Listen and join us as we seek to name the top 5 rom-coms and discuss masculinity and femininity together and how that plays into role. Make sure to like and subscribe and share it with your friends on social media.
Stay tuned. All right, we're back. Episode 6, Feelings in Flannel, Season 2. This is getting hard to keep up with.
Yeah. Trying to find people to come is hard.
Yeah. Not only that, the scheduling, like trying to keep up with the pace of scheduling and all of that, but even just the fact that there's so many details you have to think about that we didn't consider. We were just doing this to have some fun. Now people have started buying in on whether they make the top 5 or not. Mm-hmm. And we've got a point system to resolve in the sense that we currently have a 3-way tie and don't know what to do about it. So we'll figure all that out. But what started was you and I hanging out, having a good time, which was a good time. And I don't know that we anticipated people to care as much as they do.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like it wouldn't be as hard to accommodate scheduling and all the details if people didn't care. Because then it'd be like, well, we missed a week because scheduling. That's fine. People aren't really watching anyway. But people will be texting, where's the episode? I'm like,
yeah.
Sorry. So it's like, it's a good thing, but it's also a little bit more stressful because now it's like we don't have the privilege or the
benefit.
Yeah, there's a word I'm trying to say, but the luxury of missing a week. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. So it's starting to bear down on us. But hey, you know what? It's a good problem. And people are enjoying this. And the better part of that is I'm still enjoying it. Oh, yeah. And it's hanging out with you. That's more important to me than any of that list. So for those of you listening who care about the points and making the top 5 and the fact that we change the rules when we want, we don't care because we're doing this to hang out with each other. So suck it. Suck it. Did I get it right?
Yes, but you never say that. Ever.
Why?
Because you never do. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying we say it all the time at home. You just like, I know. It's like,
for those of you listening and wondering, my family are huge Psych fans. If you've not seen Psych,
they are not American. They need Jesus.
Shame on you. Psych's hilarious, but I don't watch things multiple times. It's just not me. And my family quotes this movie all the time. That is a quote from the movie. That was for my family. And now I'm being rebuked for it. And that hurts a little.
Well, to be honest, it caught me off guard. Because you never respond. You're just like, yeah, I know what it's from. And that's all we get.
Hey.
No, you can't use that one.
All right. Well, we got a guest, and I forgot to start timer again, so that's dumb. But we've still got about 25 minutes, plenty of time. My guest tonight is bringing a movie and going to represent, and it is none other than the Mike Henson Jr., also known as Pastor Mike, also known as That's My Probation Officer, depending on who we're talking to in the community. But Mike Jr., we're just going to call you Junior.
Works.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. How are you?
Oh, doing good. So good to be here. So
I'm confused by the Purdue.
Yeah, well, I was trying to find a flannel shirt, and so this is one I had. But yeah, I know Purdue's been good to the family, good to Trey. So
that's right. Your son goes to Purdue.
Yeah, they've been good to him. So
I thought when
represent
you came
a little bit
that maybe you lost a bet to Roger Noter.
No lost bet.
No,
Michigan still is good. I still bleed the blue underneath. So
okay. Well, I don't know if you're as big a fan of Michigan as our mutual friend Scott, who had the M tattooed on his chest.
Yes.
So, but you'll get there, I think.
I don't know about the tattoo, but we're probably pretty close.
So you brought a movie tonight. We're not ready to hear yet what that is, but I hope this is a fair question for you.
Okay.
You were a little anxious about coming on, a little nervous.
Yeah.
For you want to tell us why?
Well, I think it's everybody has different standards about what's an appropriate movie to watch or what's good, what's not good, and so sometimes it's difficult in some of the different hats I wear. You know, whether am or am not endorsing content or not endorsing content, or there's always the fear of offending people by what I may or may not watch or like or whatever. So a little bit, but then I love a good movie. So, and I saw the fun you guys were having, and so
well, I'm glad you
in.
chose to take that leap anyway. And I thought I'd help tonight because I don't think anything in the content of your movie will offend people as much as me telling them to suck it. So, just trying to lay it out there, give you some cover, lay down some cover for you. I think you'd be okay. But I mean, the reality is that's real. That's part of being a pastor in today's society.
Yeah.
A lot of judgment going towards pastors. But at the end of the day, you're real people too.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the stuff needs to be considered or censored. But, this is about us having fun together.
Yeah.
And we've been doing that. It's been a blast. And you've got a good pick.
Yeah.
So what movie are you bringing?
So I asked to bring 9, but they only let me bring 1.
You did too.
So
you sent me
a list of
almost
9.
a top 10. I was like, What the heck?
So a little known fact, I love a good rom-com. That's how me and my wife dated and spent a majority of our early married life. That's our kind of decompressing time. We'll find a good movie and watch, a hobby, whatever. So
really,
watching
you
movies.
You better be careful. You're going to put Amelia into tears.
Yes,
Amelia had a cardiac embrace right here live. If you roll the video back, you can see it happening in her eyes.
Yes.
Oh no.
In fact, I one of my favorite things to do is to ask my wife, "Do you remember when we watched that movie? What was going on in our life?" And of course, she can't. But I can.
Are you serious?
Yeah, but I can tie a lot of our movies to life events. I can tell you the movie that. We thought she was going into labor. We were actually at the cinema watching a movie. And
that is a rom-com thing.
Can you hear
it?
Yeah, I can feel it too.
Yes.
Mike Jr. is a hopeless romantic.
Yes.
I love it.
And how could anyone in the church judge you despite what your content is? How could they judge that? That's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's me. No.
I love that. Part of this journey has been about representing the masculine side of this.
Yeah.
Like, the deal. Guys like to act like they don't like rom-coms. That's a lie.
Yeah.
We don't dislike them. What we don't like is it being expected to be like that all the time. That's unrealistic. Right. And that probably should go both ways. But that's cool. You like them.
Yeah.
So you narrowed it to 1.
So I narrowed it to 1. So I wanted to try to find one I thought maybe you guys hadn't seen, or especially Amelia, maybe one she hadn't seen. So I went all the way back into the 80s, the wonderful 80s. So, one of the greatest eras to be alive.
Agreed.
And so best music and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm coming with Can't Buy Me Love from 1987.
Can't Buy Me Love. It's funny that you grabbed a movie. When you told me this, we were actually at church. You told me this is what I'm bringing. And my response was, I've never seen that. And I bet Amelia hasn't either. And then I told Amelia and she's like, I love that movie.
Oh, so good.
I like to remind you that I said my soul was born in the 80s. So
you said specifically, I'm an 80s baby.
Yes.
That's
I
a
said
lie.
an 80s movie that you haven't seen.
You're not an 80s baby.
That's evidence. I'm an 80s soul.
She's an 80s soul.
You're an 80s soul.
There we go.
Maybe.
Like
So she had seen it. I had not, but I, of course, have watched it. We watched it this week. So this will be a good conversation. Why don't you summarize the movie for the listener, and then we'll start pointing this, dude.
Cool. I made a few notes here, but excuse me, my voice is going crazy. The premise of the movie is about Ronald Miller. He is for lack of a better word, a nerd. And he cutting grass and just has his sights set on the captain of the cheerleaders, as most guys probably did back in those days. And dreaming about what it would be like to be popular. And so he he's doing this part, and then he finds this girl. This girl has a tragic experience, and he swoops in to save the day, and decides he's going to help her out in exchange for her helping him be popular and spending time with him. And so throughout the movie, it shows this tension of him getting to know her, getting to know her friends, becoming popular, losing himself in the process, losing her in the process, figuring things out along the way, and then them coming back together again at the end. So
Yeah.
has all the makings of a 7-point movie, I think.
Yeah, nice way to slide that in there. Yeah, so there we go. There's the summary. That was a good summary. I think I would say, even before we get to the pointing, people should watch this movie.
Yeah.
It's a wholesome movie,
Yeah.
honestly, in so many ways. And you're right, the 80s were fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're going to start in criteria. Mike's got notes.
Yeah, it makes me a little bit nervous.
I'm a teacher at heart, so I did some notes, did some research. I got stuff.
Oh,
I got stuff.
If you pop out any
That could be the
statistics,
title of
it's
the episode.
over.
I got a few.
Oh boy, you're in trouble. You are in trouble. All right, let's do
Well,
it. What do you want to start with?
Start with yours.
All right, let's start with a redemptive component. What do you see in this movie that is about the redemption of the way a person views themselves or a people group?
Yeah. I think there's a couple. I think really the whole movie theme kind of centers around this idea of redemption a little bit, and that you see both sides. It starts off with I think Ronald's view of others, people that he deems maybe more popular, the in crowd, the upper echelon of people. And then you see Cindy's view of him in the very opening scene. She didn't even really pay him any attention.
True.
Mom pointed him out, and she just like stuck her nose up and kind of moved on, right? And so there was this whole part there where neither one paid either attention. Mm-hmm. There was a longing for one point, but it wasn't reciprocated.
Yeah.
And then as it goes on and as they develop this kind of relationship, we start to see her feelings for him change, and we see his feelings for himself change.
Yeah.
Almost for the worse.
In a bad way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and then, she's starting to like him, I think, and have feelings, catch feelings, as they say. Mm-hmm. And, and then at this
What are
point.
you laughing at?
It threw me off guard.
I work with people. Yeah. I caught a case. I caught feelings. I caught this. I caught that. Everything's caught.
Mike Junior's in on the language.
Probably more in than I am.
He probably
Everything's
is.
caught. But there's that tension where she's starting to have these feelings for him, and he's losing himself in this process, losing his friends, losing sense of who he is. And then you're also seeing the other crowd starting to embrace him. And so they're starting to change their views of him. Mm-hmm. And then obviously his scheme is found out, and then he's outcast again.
Right.
And then he finds himself, and then at the end she finds him, and they find each other.
Yeah, the redemption in this movie is pretty wild.
And I like this specifically the lunch scene at the end where his friend is trying to help somebody with their math, and everybody thinks it's a scheme, and he's trying to do kind of that same thing,
right?
Trying to do a Ronald Miller,
yeah,
like they called it, and then he steps in, hits the table with the baseball bat, makes his speech, everybody claps. It's a little cheesy, but you get the heart squeeze too. Wink, wink. And
look at him going
Dang
for a
it.
second point on this one.
I think I don't like this anymore.
You talked about this scene though when we watched it.
We were watching it, and I have seen it before, but it's been a long time, so I didn't remember everything. But when he, intervenes and gives his big speech, and he kind of walks away to go back by the tree, I was like, I can't remember how he said it. Something like, "We need a slow clap" or something like that, like the classic.
Yeah.
80s thing. And then he started doing it, and I was like, yes! So I was like, that just made it all better. Yeah, it was.
So your cardiac was embraced. That's what I hear you saying.
We're not talking about that criteria yet.
I have a feeling the slow clap's coming up more than once. But yeah, redemption. I mean, you made a case in ways that I wasn't even thinking, because I think my heart went, my mind. It wasn't a heart embrace, or what is it called?
A cardiac
heart,
embrace,
whatever.
a heart squeeze.
It wasn't that. My mind went to the fact that you had an entire group of nerds then start integrating with, the cool kids, the popular kids.
Right.
And then the way that they then change their view of the nerds, right? You see it happen in that last scene that you described. My mind went to that, but you're right. The redemption of himself, it went to a healthy spot of, I can hang with these folks, to an unhealthy spot.
Yeah.
Back to an unhealthy spot the other way.
Right.
I'm nothing.
Right.
Kind of leveled off then at
that point.
Authenticity of who I am matters most.
Right.
And that was definitely full point. There was so much of a redemptive component in this movie.
I also like the part where they even pointed out that at one point in time they were all friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so what is it about society that tells us we can't be connected with somebody, on some level, some way? But, again, I think that's always been societies, to try to separate people and try to find ways to keep people apart.
I think that's why this component is so important for me. Like when I'm watching, as a man, when I'm watching this and I see this redemptive component, I'm more attracted to the movie because it does land then more on a human side.
Right.
Right. But yeah, I forgot about that scene.
Yeah.
All right. So we're close to halfway. I know.
Already?
I know. It goes so fast. Close. I said close. Really close. Mm-hmm. What, we did redemptive. What do you want to do? You want to go ahead and hit cardiac embrace? You know it's going to get it.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do that.
Heart squeeze, cardiac embrace. What other scenes?
Well, there are a couple I found in there for this. I thought the first one for me kind of came as they were still dating and they were still kind of in this contract, so to speak. And he's hearing her, and he brings her a book for her poetry. So she had expressed to know, which again, I think that's also when she'd expressed to him, as he was washing the car, and brought poetry. So she was vulnerable to him in a way that she hadn't been vulnerable to anybody, and said, "Hey, read this." And so he read that, and then he remembered it and brought her a book saying for her to keep her poetry in. So I thought, that's a special moment. It shows that it was more than just a contract. Yeah. There, and that they were listening and kind of paying attention.
I think I'll throw one in here because I don't think there's any argument it's going to get a full point for. Is it?
No. Unfortunately not.
It's going to get a full point for heart squeeze, or what does it start as? Giddy and girly is what it's supposed to be. It's going to get a full point for that. And you threw that one out there, and I started making a case for cute moments also, by the way. Just throw it out there.
Dang it.
But I think to throw one just to confirm the full point here for this is when they are looking through the telescope.
I had that I had that too.
Right. That's certainly, there's a component of a cardiac embrace in that as well. So,
and at the end,
with the lunch scene and the end. Yeah.
Right.
I had those too.
Yeah, so there's plenty of content in this. If you are a listener and you love heart squeezes or cardiac embraces, this movie is full of it. Yeah. It's got a bunch of them.
And they ride the lawnmower into the sunset.
Yes. Yes.
That was a good one.
So there's a little bit of closure. I need closure in a movie too. That's a criteria for me. And I feel like there's closure. Yeah.
There was closure in movies in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they always kind of ended with that. Kind of scene.
Yeah, kind of happened.
Freeze frame.
All right, so how about let's come back to mine. Out of place. This is belonging component.
Yeah, I think the whole movie is about that. I mean, I think that's the premise of the movie. Obviously, Ronald is out of place.
Sure.
As the nerd trying to fit into the cool club. Mm-hmm. He starts out of place.
Right.
And then what I really think the underlying layer of that is when he becomes cool, he's out of place cool because, that's not who he is. And so even as he's becoming friends with her and as they're getting to like each other, and then I think of the scene where after they had broken up and he's walking through the school, for the first time without her. He's got his hair all slicked back. He's wearing the sunglasses and he's high-fiving and slapping. He was out of place in that point because that wasn't authentically who he was.
Yeah.
Putting on an act, trying to.
Interesting point.
Yeah. And so I think the whole movie is they're out of place and kind of out of character. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't disagree. And since that's my criteria, I think I too would give it a full point. I hadn't thought about he's still out of place in the other. But I do want to make a point. Something that occurred to me, and I'll make it quickly, is when he becomes cool, because he's with her, right. So he's cool by proxy.
Right.
And then you see the fact that this is how pathetic our society is.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, he's cool now. And he shows up wearing the most ridiculous outfits.
Yes.
And people were just like,
ridiculous for
trending with it. Right? It's ridiculous for the 80s.
Yeah.
And then he starts dancing.
Yes.
That's hilarious because you think he's going to be humiliated. I even said, oh, she's going to rescue him by being the first one to join him.
Yeah.
And then she wasn't. That's what I mean, how pathetic our society is. They're like, oh, this must be cool. When he wasn't even cool.
Yeah. And the two girls that said, well, he's having a spaz attack. And then the last scene of the dance, they're doing the dance with him when everybody else does.
Right.
Peer pressure is a real thing.
It's a real thing. Say it to your professional relationships, right. Mike. They're watching.
That's right. It's a real thing.
Yeah. So full point. So we're at 3.
3 for 3.
You said you think you had a 7-point movie. I'm starting to wonder. But where are we going? What do you want? What's yours?
I'll go with The Shift.
Oh, The Shift. Yes.
I love the notes. RJ, can you see his notes in the shot?
No.
Oh, bummer.
Now I can.
I got notes. I come ready.
Every time we make a point, you can see he's clearly on camera. He looks down, rifles through his notes, and says, "Oh, in this case, yes."
The Shift.
What do you got?
So I think in The Shift, I think it's the premise of the movie is the shift. I think you see, again, the shift of Ronald becoming cool amongst his peers. I think you see the shift of him liking her, which was the whole start of it, is he liked this girl. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden he shifts into being too full of himself and misses it, and then, I think I liked the quote the little brother said, he was a nobody to a somebody to a nobody again, or something along those lines. And so you kind of see that shift in him all the way through. I think probably a little less noticeable, but we kind of have been hitting on it, is not only the shift of her not recognizing him, not even knowing him, to where she couldn't even call him by his real name,
right?
Calling him Donald.
Right.
To then having feelings for him, and then all the shift of the friends where, he was an outcast. Now they've accepted him. And then by the end of the movie, they've accepted all of them. You got the handshake with the football player and Kenny, right. At the end. And so, I think you see this shift of attitudes, shift of beliefs. Maybe we're not all that different. We just dress a little different, or we have different likes.
So Junior's making a lot of cases for shifts. But what shift are you looking for, and does it exist? It's your criteria.
Well, tell me what shift. I'll find it.
Well, the example, with their relationship of when, they don't like each other, they're friends, or in this case, he's a nobody to her. Right. He doesn't exist. He kind of notices her. He's like watching her while she's doing cheerleading practice and all that. But I kind of feel like part of her shift was when she asked him if they could go back to the airplane graveyard, because she knew that was, dang it. I'm shooting myself in the foot.
Yes.
We'll put the transcript of Mike's notes in the comments. That's a joke. For those of you who comment to me and say, this wasn't in there, I was joking. That was a joke.
Well, I feel like that was her shift. And he's kind of infatuated with her Then they get together. Then he becomes obsessed with being popular. She kind of fades into the background. And then kind of, at the end, he kind of apologizes. They have their moment.
Yeah, you have the bathroom scene where he really pours his heart out to her and apologizes and talks about how he did all this just to be with her. And so you find that shift from she fading into the background to becoming the forefront again. And then obviously he shows up at the end at 6 o'clock in the morning on the tractor, again, trying to have that nice dialogue there.
And the first shift is probably the washing the car scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when she, because that was her first real act of vulnerability. And you're not vulnerable with someone that you don't have affection for, right? It doesn't have to be romantic affection, but there has to be some sort of affection and trust.
Yeah.
And that's demonstrated right there. So,
Plus they have the classic cute car wash fight scene with the water.
Yeah.
That's more of a heart squeeze, but
Yeah.
Definitely
did you ever have a car wash scene with Tanya?
Did not. No.
Did you want to? You're a RomCom
That's
guy.
beside the point. It never happened.
I love it. I love that.
Oh man, we're going to make Tanya. I know. Let's see, how many years, Mike? You're 26 years. I'm calling you out, Tanya. For your 30th anniversary, you have to stage a car wash fight scene with your husband. Amelia will give you this face.
I already gave it. That's hard squeeze just thinking about that.
No, we've had the quintessential water fight at the sink. Things like that. So we've done some of that stuff. Splash a little water when you're doing dishes or
I can't take much more of this.
or cooking.
Should we have Tanya on?
That would be interesting. I think she would love it. I
will
don't
think
know
about
what she
that.
would bring, but you might have to ask her.
Yeah, well, I'm going to just ask you to bring stories of your relationship.
It would be one heart squeeze after the other.
I would probably just pass away.
All right, so full point for the shift?
Yeah.
Man, Mike, you are doing well. That's 4.
It's 4.
4.
like it.
Coming back to me, I get lost. What have I
Creative
done?
and patient pursuit. That's the one I always remind you of.
I
too.
know. Creative and patient pursuit.
Yeah.
What do you think? Consult the notes.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes.
So I need to find where it's at. So I think that buying the dress at the very beginning, kind of starting this whole thing off for her, was kind of that start. It doesn't really say where he come up with the idea for the contract, so to speak, but seeing her in need and buying her a dress, spending $1,000 on her to buy her a new dress to get her out of trouble, I think starts that pursuit of romance. I think it's carried on with the buying her the book for the poetry. So still kind of that wooing. There's still that sign of I seen you, I heard you, you're important.
Yeah.
I think even after the fight, him following her back to her house and trying to make sure things were okay. After they had their fake breakup.
Right. When he totally screwed that up.
He did not do that well.
Oh my goodness.
But following her back to try to make sure that they were good.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't think he noticed she was catching feelings for him.
No, not at all.
I think he was clueless about that, and so
it's interesting. And so since this is my criteria, I think where I'm at on this is kind of odd because right now I think I'm at like a half a point for pursuit, and here's why. He's in there going to buy this telescope,
right,
$1,000 telescope, and it's marked down, so it's normally more than that,
right.
And while he's looking through the telescope, he sees her in this predicament, right? And he chooses to walk away from it. He wants to help her,
right?
No doubt, a heart squeeze, no doubt. But it wasn't pursuit of her, and you think it is at first, until he brings up this contract.
Yeah.
And then so you realize he does fawn over her. No doubt he likes her. You've already seen that. But you think this is going to be a pursuit of her, but then he says, I can use this to make me popular.
Yeah.
And then in the pursuit of that, forgets kind of about her at all together.
Yeah.
And then you see that fully in the breakup scene. He doesn't even realize she doesn't want to break up.
Yeah.
And he destroys her in front of everyone. That was horrible.
And I thought that at first, but then when you listen to the dialogue toward the end, the original thought of being popular was to be with her. And then in the process of being popular, he did lose himself. And so at first, because I struggled with finding this point myself.
Yeah.
And I knew I was going to have to fight for it.
This is the one.
This is the one I knew I was going to have to fight for to get my 7. Is that? And I think, and I didn't have it until we got toward the end. And as I rewatched the movie and listened to the dialogue, I think the original pursuit of being popular is you couldn't be with her unless you were popular.
Yeah.
And so that got him to the status to be able to be with her. But then he lost himself along the way.
Yeah.
And then when we think about pursuit of romance, I also liked the fact, and Amelia mentioned it, of her coming back and saying, hey, let's go see the moon again. So we see her jealousy. We see her getting jealous as he's dating some of the other girls, and to the point that she waits by his locker for him to come to school and say, hey, did you know this thing is going on with the moon? Let's go see it again. So she was pursuing, again, a relationship with him.
She also asked about the graveyard, the airplane graveyard.
Which is where the moon was. Yeah. And to go back.
Right. Yeah, so
there was that pursuit there from her angle midway through when he was totally clueless about what was going on. She shifted to try to pursue him a little bit. And obviously he was still stuck.
So I think, and I don't want to run out of time. We're going to go a little over, but I think it's a half a point because not because I'm trying to keep you from 7.
No, I'm with you.
But because I think the bulk of the movie is centered around the pursuit of something that's not fulfilling, right?
Right. Popularity.
If you were to really generalize it. In this case, it's popularity.
Right.
And so the pursuit of romance is only in kind of 2 spots, which I don't think is patient and constant. So let's call it a half.
Okay.
4.5. What? You got one more? You should have one more.
Oh yeah, cute moments that show they know each other.
So I think we covered that one.
Yeah.
Like it's the moon thing.
The moon, the poetry book.
The poetry book, we've covered it. No reason to beat a dead horse.
Yeah.
So 5.5, and it comes down to
soundtrack.
Soundtrack.
Yes.
And since Amelia's an 80s baby.
I mean, all we have to do is say the Beatles, right?
Right.
So we got the Beatles. We also have a song in there from Billy Idol and the Beach Boys. All contributed, and the great score from John Folk. So
the what?
The score. You know, the all the music behind the actions that gives you the heart squeezes, that gives you the cardiac. I told you I'm coming. John Folk. I don't know that he did anything else, but I thought I'd
I have no idea
even
who that is. The others I knew. I don't know John Folk. I mean, it's like there's synthesizer in it.
It's classic 80s.
It's classic 80s, right?
Yep.
So is it full?
Yep.
So that's 6.5.
So some interesting things here. I've got interesting tidbits too for extra credit. Is there extra credit?
Let it sink in.
It already did. I'm gonna cry on the way home.
6.5 points. Our audience knows what that means.
Yeah.
Mike knows what that means.
I just need a minute.
That's right.
Take the camera off me.
But
it is slower.
Let me lift your spirits, sis.
It's gonna be hard.
Mike's life is a rom-com.
I know.
There's a lot of truth to that.
But he doesn't have a moment from You Got Mail.
He doesn't. That's so sad. Man, you didn't even exhaust all your points.
I didn't.
And it's unfortunate we don't have enough time to hear all of the rest of your points. But I'm thinking 6.5. You clearly, right now, have moved into the top 5 and have pushed a few movies down the list. So
Perfect.
we've got to reorder that for the audience because,
Perfect.
for those who aren't keeping track. But man, that was good to have you on.
Oh, so fun to be here.
This was a good time.
Yeah,
Thanks for
good
doing
time.
it. And
Absolutely.
thanks for sharing a little bit about your personal life too.
Yeah, for real.
I learned some stuff tonight.
Nice.
That was great. And we'll talk about Tanya. Tanya, we might be coming for you. And
like
we
it.
definitely are expecting a staged car wash scene for your 30th
Yes,
anniversary.
film it.
Film it. That's,
a
4 years
synthesizer.
from now.
Make your own 80s scene.
Oh man, what a good time. Thanks for laughing with us. Thanks
Absolutely.
for being
So good. So much fun.
on. All right. Sorry, sis.
I did not expect this outcome.